Hello, good evening, good morning if you're somewhere where there's morning. We are here in New York. Larissa Saveliev. I'm Sergey Gordeev. I'm the Director of External Affairs for Youth America Grand Prix. And welcome to the first of many, we hope, Facebook Live sessions. We do these, we've decided to do these with the purpose of trying to communicate, finding new ways to engage the many Youth America Grand Prix participants all around the world. And Larissa here is a very busy lady, so we were looking for ways to get the information to you that she always gets contacted about. And in fact, this series will help answer many of your questions. We start tonight our first session with the most important question of all. How do you build a career in dance? After all, most people who come to Youth America Grand Prix are hoping somehow to build a career in this beautiful art form. And who better to answer these than this lady who has helped many thousands of dancers in the 18 years that Youth America Grand Prix has been in existence to build a career, or not even of those who haven't built a career, to build appreciation for this beautiful art form. So we'll start today with this topic, how to build a career in dance. Larissa will share what she knows. Many of you have sent in your questions. We'll ask some of those. Also in the comment sections, in the comment section of the page, you can, if we have time, we'll try to answer those questions as well. Try to keep those comments constructive and try to learn as much as you can. As always, our sessions are done with education in mind. This is what Youth America Grand Prix is all about. Our other sessions will be devoted to other important topics such as nutrition, such as dancer health, such as mental health, such as appreciating the art, things that interest you. So without further ado, we would like to start with a few questions that you have sent in. By the way, for future sessions, the email address is ask@yagp.org. That is where you can send questions that interest you for next sessions. So first of all, again, hello, Larissa.
Hello.
Some of the questions that have been sent in, a lot of them have to do with what kind of schooling you would recommend. For example, Malika is asking, what are the chances of getting into a company if I finish private school versus a big name school that has a company affiliation?
I'll get this question a lot, actually. It's a very common question. And the easiest way I can explain it, it's a similar, if you have a diploma from Ivy League college or from small private college. So if you have a diploma from Ivy League, it does help to have maybe fast track your career, but that's not the only way. And I know a lot of very successful people who do not have Ivy League diploma and still have very prominent jobs. So answering this question, so yes, it does help if you graduate from the big institutional school, but that's not the only way.
So, I mean, I know, like, for example, if you graduate from Harvard, you're much more likely to get a job in a non-dance profession. So do people really look at, say, if you're from ABT school or SAB or like San Francisco Ballet, does it really matter?
Well, what's matter is what you produce on stage.
Right.
That's the most important. Ultimately, that's the most important things, because those audience members who see you on stage, they will not ask where you graduate from. But in audition process, it does help because it's get you noticed among very, very big pool of applicant.
Mm-hmm. And in general, how is the environment these days? Is this a good time to become a ballet dancer?
It's always a good time to become a ballet dancer, but it is difficult. Right. The job situation right now, it's difficult because unfortunately there's no more company opening up. But it's a lot more dance schools opening up. So it means percentage of those who graduate is much larger with the same amount of job opening. Mm-hmm. So it is more competitive than it used to be. But, so people still join the company and people still retiring from ballet company. So it means new positions are opening.
Okay. Well, Patrick wants to know. Patrick is a parent, and he says, "My daughter wants to go to a boarding school, but I'm against it." Patrick is against it, and he's saying that she's only 13. So, what is the best age to go to a boarding school?
So, of course, it's very personal. And when we're talking about kids, I always say it's no statistics because it's each child is different. And as a parent myself, for example, my child went to boarding school when he was 11. And that was his choice, not us. We, as a parent, we was actually against it, but he decided to go, and so we followed it. But it's, I will say, most common best age, which I think, from my experience talking to a lot of parents, will be 15 or 16. And because that's when they already mature enough to handle the lifestyle without the parents, but also they have enough time to spend in school to get education. So, but of course we know a lot of 13-year-old and even 12-year-old who are boarding schools and doing pretty well. So it's really personal.
But in general, you're saying about 15 because then you have usually it's 2 or 3 year course of study. So by the time you're 18, then you're ready to be
exactly
with the company with which the school is affiliated.
So I always say the dancers' years, it's like a dog years. It's a little bit different than the normal human being. So, and if you graduate by the 18, or 17, that's the usual graduation years. Each boarding school, each institutional school would like to keep you there at least 2 or 3 years. So if you go backwards from 18, and like that's going to be like 15 or 16. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, another parent question we have, skeptical parent is asking, what if my daughter never becomes a professional dancer? Is there anything else she can use her many years of training for?
Well, I think the biggest benefit is the self-discipline. And I think what you can get as a ballet dancer, it's like just uncomparable to anything else. Like the self-discipline which dance give you, it's so helpful in any career you will do in your life. But that's in general. But I saw quite few dancers who, when they stopped dancing, so they went to became of course school director. That's most common. Mm-hmm. So you can open your dance school. You can become physiotherapist. That's, I think, also very, very useful to have a dance career, because just think about if you're parent of dancer and you have to go to the doctor, you always prefer to go to those who has this background because they know how to treat it better. So like marketing and PR, a lot of company looking for those who has the dance background because it's very useful.
Well, that's how we met, actually, by the way.
That's exactly.
I have a personal, my own story, actually, to add to the skeptical parent, to help him or her not to be so skeptical, because, I myself have a dance background. I've studied in Russia, ballroom dancing, actually. Then I went to the school of Alvin Ailey, and I studied there, and I started a little bit too late, and some people are just born to dance. I was born to be exposed to dance. So I didn't become a professional dancer. However, my 7 or 8 years of professional training, I feel every day, because first of all, it helps you keep in great shape. It helps you with your discipline. It also, I didn't become a dancer, but I became a dance publicist. Larissa, when she was trying to start a competition in 1999, that's how we met. You came to me and
we've been together for almost 20 years.
Oh my God, 20 years next year. So I was with dance still as a publicist, and that hugely helped me, my dance training, first with discipline, second just to appreciate the art form. There are, and in any case, nothing ever goes to waste, especially something as beautiful as dancing, because, first of all, there's science research that says children who have been exposed to music and dance and arts, they have better brains, literally neural pathways. They're better in whatever field they later choose for themselves. Also, it helps you appreciate dance in a way. It opens up the world of dance for you in a way that no matter what you choose to do, you'll always have that enrich your life in ways that are not at all a waste. So don't you worry, skeptical parent. All these years of training will go to good use.
But
now,
it is a good question, and again,
it's a great
lot
question.
of a lot of parents ask this one.
Well, okay, so we are a classical ballet, mostly focused on classical ballet. Youth America Grand Prix is a classical ballet scholarship audition. And Katya Broderick is asking, well, at what point is it important on learning other types of dance? So if classical ballet is a foundation, if you have like different, say, hip hop or modern dance or jazz or, modern, at what point is it important to start diversifying your dance training?
Well, right now I can say to get a job, you have to be very, very versatile. That's, I think, it's number one benefit which you can, or advantage you can have in audition process. So that's why you can't find any single company in the world right now who's only doing classics. That's I can tell you for sure. So more versatile you are, better chance you have to get a job. So which point doesn't really matter. So as long as you actually get to know both classical and contemporary styles, majority people do it first, getting training with very strong classical base because that's foundation. That's foundation of all art, the dance forms, and then get exposed to different styles of dance. And but I also saw other ways. I know, for example, several dancers who has very successful career came from jazz training, such as James Whiteside, who is a principal with ABT, or Tyler Peck, who is principal with New York City Ballet, and many, many others.
So they didn't start with classical ballet
They
training.
start as the jazz dancers and then get converted to ballet dancers.
Okay.
So, but majority do ballet first and then get other styles. So as long as you get them both, in each, the timings doesn't really matter.
Jennifer from Switzerland is asking, hello Switzerland. If Jennifer, by the way, if Jennifer or any of you in Europe or in Japan or wherever you are, if you're not getting to see this live, you can always see this on Youth America Grand Prix page. We will have this video saved, so please feel free to come back to it if you don't get to it live. But Jennifer wants to know, as a student in the final year of training, how can I get performing stage experience when there are no opportunities around? That's actually a question you get a lot.
So, well, that's why it's more and more of dance competition opening up, and a lot of students use this as the performing opportunity because it does give you this factor to be on stage and also factor to be dance under the pressure. So another thing, luckily we live in the 21st century where everything is available on Google.
Right.
So it's a lot of dance programs who provide performance in the end of the summer session or winter session, and I think that's also great way of getting this professional exposure. So several programs actually based on preparing for the competitions, preparing for the performances. And I think a lot of them available online. One I can mention is in Barcelona, IBC stage. So I know they do very big performance in the end of the session. But a lot of program do performance in the end of the session. Southland Ballet Academy, also in California, they do strong summer program and they have a big performance in the end. But so pretty much use winter or summer session as your performance opportunity, in addition to the, of course, competitions.
Well, and that's the thing, because in fact, a lot of schools that participate in Youth America Grand Prix do so just, they know that they're not going to, get the big prizes, and they're not necessarily coming with the point of, getting the scholarships because the students are still, studying. But many of them tell us that they come just to give their students the opportunity to perform.
But of course, I was talking about private schools, and if you're talking about institutional school, so they have all this pre-plan and
built into the curriculum.
They built in the curriculum. So that's again one of the benefits of being in the institutional school, because they quite often be part of the performances in the company they attach to and in the major opera houses. So that's one of the perks of being into being trained by institutional school.
Okay. Well, Emma Jorgensen is asking the following question. She says, I am 5'0", so she's 5 foot tall, a short little dancer, and I don't have great extensions. So what is the likelihood that I could actually get into a company somewhere?
Okay, well, the 5 feet is a little more challenging than 5 feet height. It's a little more challenging than if you will be like 6 feet, or of course best one is a medium, 5'6", 5'7", that's like average height. But
I was gonna say, like, whether really short or really tall dancers,
yes.
that's
but
difficult.
again, Maria Kachetkova, who is like, beautiful dancer, like used to be San Francisco Ballet, now is ABT. So she's 5 feet and she has absolutely impeccable career, and one of my personal favorite ones. So, and she has, overcome all the odds and built her career. Maria. So,
well, and Sarah Lane also is not a tall dancer.
Sarah Lane is not a tall
ABT,
dancer. Skylar Brand is not a tall dancer.
American Grand Prix alumni.
So Skylar is also our alumni.
Yeah.
So they're both in ABT. So it is possible to make a career. You just have to be a little more creative and do more research about which company actually hiring these dancers. So you have to go online, for example, and take a look, who are they soloists, what's their height, and that's give you idea about average height in this company. So
research and preparation.
Research and preparation.
Well, also you kind of have to compensate with other things. If you don't have great extensions, then you better be a good turner. Like if you're not a good turner, you better be a great jumper.
Coming back to extension, well, that's actually much harder in these days. That's much harder to hide than the height.
Right.
So my suggestion will be maybe a look for the rhythmic gymnast coaches, because they're usually very good in working on extension, and usually all rhythmic gymnastics extremely flexible. And but I think in those days extension is very popular, I would say it's necessity more than luxury. So then you definitely has to work on it.
And the world it just seems like is getting more and more technically advanced. There's turns and jumps and and extensions. It's so much more. It seems the world of ballet today is so much more advanced and focused on technical achievements.
And more athletic, because again,
than it ever has been.
And if we follow, like if any of you follow the sports, you can see what like gymnasts or ice skaters, what they do, So used to be like double tour used to be the trick. Now like quadruple is, okay. So a lot of people doing it, and it's not something which unheard of before. So definitely everything is getting more progressive. So as ballet.
Great. Sarah wants to know, it's a great question, how do you network as a dancer? Because it's all about connections, isn't it?
It's all about connection in any career. So it's not only in dance. Any career network is very important tool and skill. I wish started teaching them in schools. So, but you guys, you go to summer program, you go to auditions, you go to performances. Try to see who's in your right, who's in your left, and get the numbers, because.
But that's weird. I mean, like if you're dancing in a whatever performance, and then just like,
well,
here's my
not
number.
In
How do you do this?
Well, not in the performance, but any performance, any audition you come, you have a warm up time. So you sit warming up, like you ask, where are you from? Well, I'm from Chicago. Oh, I'm from Boston. Where do you study? I study there. I study so you get to know people, and because you never know how in life it will help you in terms of maybe this person who you just met will get a job, maybe you didn't, but this person, if you're gonna stay in touch, will say, well, hi, like somebody just get injured and they're looking for girl in Nutcracker like as soon as possible. So what about you send your resume?
Right.
So that's the...
Well, in fact, again, a fun personal story from, a different field, but, I, in addition to all the wonderful work that I enjoy doing with Youth America Grand Prix, I'm also a journalist. And for 2 years, I was a news anchor on Russian television. And the way I became, after Columbia Journalism School, which I finished with my master's in broadcast, we're all looking for jobs. Like what's, and New York is market number one. I happened to be in a play with a Russian girl who happens to also have been an anchor on Russian television here in New York. And we were just in a play together, just in our off time, and she mentioned, oh, our boy anchor is leaving. Do you want to come in to audition? I went, and 3 days later, I was on air. So right out of school, I was a news anchor in market number one, only because I was friendly with a girl who I was doing some extracurricular stuff with. I was in a play with her. So don't be afraid to be friendly. Don't be afraid to say hi. Don't be afraid to, just like Larissa said, where are you from? What's your name? Smile and project friendliness, and then, it won't be worse, but it might be better. You know what I mean? Like, there's no harm in doing that, but definitely connections are what this world is all about. And social media are a great way to connect. And so that's all very good advice. Just be friendly and be nice. And we have one more question before we go to, we have our producer Zhenya over here who's looking at your comments. She's going to let us know in a minute what these comments are. But we have one more question. Nancy wants to know, I have a teenage son and daughter who both dance. Son gets scholarships and my daughter doesn't. Does it mean that her level is low? Is he a better dancer? To not make it too specific, is it easier for boys to be dancers than for girls professionally?
It's easier during the process, during the educational process and during the school, just simply because it's less boys in the ballet. So the competition is less. Mm-hmm. So the amount of spaces is quite equal for boys and the girls, but if you have a couple thousand girls who audition and only like 100 boys, so clearly your chances for scholarship for boys much higher than for the girls. Mm-hmm. And during the also summer programs and the schools, a lot of school looking for boys for partnering classes. So that's why the boys much easier have a much better chance to get a scholarship than the girls. It does not mean the better dancer. It does not mean your daughter is not talented. It's just mean so it's a little bit tougher competition for the girls.
Okay. So well, there's more of them. That's all. That's all it means.
Just right. Math.
Okay. Well, Christian wants to know: do social media matter? Do the companies consider the exposure that they will receive in hiring individuals? For example, I guess what he's saying is, if you have a big following already, does that matter to companies or not?
Not really. I mean, I know dancers think it is. What's matter? What you do on stage. So it will be nice bonus, but it will not. It's not the key factor to being hired for sure. The social media is not key factor to being hired. That's
okay. Let's see. We also have Natalie asking, what is the optimal age? This is actually a great question. What is the optimal age to start dancing? And do you think it's better to stick to one form of dance initially? We talked a little bit, touched on that, but especially in terms of like when is it best to start dancing? When is it best to start being on point? That's a question you get a lot.
So the best age, I will say probably 7, 8, 9. I saw dancers who start much later and still have a successful career. I saw dancers like start earlier. That's also, again, it's individual, so not necessary to stick with one dance form. You can be, you can have a broader education, and that's perfectly fine, but when you're young. But then when you get older, you should narrow down and do it more consistently in one form.
But as you were saying, it's always best to start with ballet and then branch. Once you get that foundation,
the ballet gives the best foundation. That's
best
for sure.
foundation. Since 14th century, it's been
Since.
giving dancers a way to use their body in these magical ways that we now so enjoy. Michelle says hi from Las Vegas. Hi, Michelle from Las Vegas. What are your thoughts on going to and graduating from a university before joining a company versus auditioning for companies straight out of high school?
Okay, that's an amazing question. And actually, our next topic, maybe you can tell about, so will be dance and higher education.
Specifically dedicated to that. So November 12th, please mark your calendars. We will have Michael Vernon, who will answer your questions.
He's the head of the department in Indiana University.
Right. He's a chair emeritus of the Department of Ballet at Indiana State University. He is a wealth of knowledge of all the options that you have as a dancer. And this is actually a great question. Great many parents ask us about that because, of course, it's every parent's dream to make sure that your son or daughter have a college education. Of course, they also want the heart of the dancer also to be acknowledged, to be heard. And so one of the best ways to combine the heart and every parent's dream, academic education, which is always useful, is to pursue dance programs in colleges and universities, dance in higher education. We will have more on that initiatives rolling out throughout the season, but November 12th we'll have a specific session dedicated just to that with Michael Vernon. But in the meantime, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know we'll be, and a lot of parents do want kids to graduate, the kids and the students graduate college, because as the parents of two boys, I understand how important it is. But
how old are your boys?
I have 27-year-old and 14-year-old.
Wow, that's quite a
yes. So one is out of college and one in the preparation to college.
So you want them both to go to college?
One is already finished successfully, and one is preparing for. So as a parent, I understand you completely. But in ballet, unfortunately, like I explained it before, so it's the dancers has a different age. So and for example, for young individual, 30 is somebody young and in the beginning of their career. For dancer, that's somebody is already halfway done with their career. So that's why for ballet you have to go most of the time. You have to go right out of the high school to the company. Again, it does. Exception does exist, and I do know a couple those who did make a career out of college, but it's on more unusual paths. So the better, if not the better, but easier chances will be if you go directly from high school.
Now this is specifically for those who want to be professional dancers, because if you just want to have dance as part of your life, then
that's
dance
a different
and higher education
story.
is an absolutely wonderful way to go.
Absolutely wonderful.
But for professional dancers, you have a very limited window in which you can train your body, and that when college, you can go to college at any moment.
You can go to college after this, and I have to tell you, so a lot of dance programs, a lot of university, even those who does not have a dance program, enjoy having a ballet dancers. And they're actually quite generous with their scholarships. So even if you're 30 and you decide to retire, you can still go to college and you actually have a much better chance to getting scholarship being professional dancer rather than just go from high school.
That's good to know.
So that's very important for people to know.
And speaking of high school, one question is, that just came is, do you need to drop out of high school to become a professional ballet dancer?
Well, again, as a parent, I don't think you should drop the high school. I mean, I think that's the worst thing you can do. You should absolutely finish your education.
Right.
So how you can finish education, that's different situation. You can do it online, you can do it homeschool. So, but I don't think it's a question if I should finish high school. Yes, absolutely, because anything can happen. What if you get injured? What if, so you have to have your education. But if you're very, very serious about your dance career, and you do want to pursue it, being homeschooled give you a little more flexibility with your coaching, with your classes time. So, and it is very common for those who decide to put professionals and really choose this path to do the homeschool education. So then, yes, you can do homeschool, but never drop it.
Don't drop. Don't drop out of high school, but you have options on to how to get that high school education. Now, Londa Teague is asking, what age is considered too old to start ballet training?
Well, for example, I know I'm not going to name it, but like one of our judges who is director of the major dance company, he started when he was 15 and he still became a professional dancer, and now he's director of the major company. But it is much harder because you have to understand physicality has a lot to do with that. So older you are, it's harder to become flexible and harder to build the muscles. So I think chances for you to become professional if you start past 12 is very small. Again, I don't say it's impossible. It's always exception in the rules, but it's just much smaller chances.
Well, and specifically, just anatomically, at what age does the body, because I understand with training, you have to change your body. I mean, I had to deal with this because I also started a little later, in my dance training. And so I knew that some of the things that were very easy for some of the younger people were harder for me. So at what age, is there a window that we should just catch as we try to change the body?
Well, I think younger you are.
Define young.
7, 8, 9.
So 7, 8. Before 7, 8, 9, you wouldn't recommend, say, starting at 5 or...
Well, again, I do know some of the dancers who did start early, so it's very individual. But I think most common to start like pre-ballet or first level of ballet is like 7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9.
Okay. And then, and after which age you would think it's
I would say
too
after 13 it will be very difficult.
Okay.
But again, I don't say it's not possible.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. Christine wants to know, what is the optimal age to compete in YAGP? If a dancer's family can afford to send their daughter only once, considering scholarship opportunities, etc.
Well, first one, answering the question. So we are offering absolutely every student who wish to compete with us but does not have a financial ability, we offer scholarship. Please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll do absolutely best we can to make sure it's happen. So it's in financial reason. So best age to compete, again, it depends what your goal are. If you live in the middle of very small city or state, and you live far away from the big city, and you don't have a strong ballet next to you, and you're looking for opportunity to train in a boarding school, and you have to go away early just because you don't have any other way to be trained, so then you should start looking at earlier, because you'll need this opportunity earlier than somebody else who is living in a big city and have several options for them to train close to the house. So again, I will say maybe a year or two before you go backwards, you decide you want to go to the next step in your dance career.
And a question, it's not quite related to, say, professional, becoming a professional dancer and building a career, but nevertheless, we get this one question from Anne. She says, does a dancer need a costume to compete in YAGP?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Actually, so we, as the judges, we're looking, not me, but as the judges, we're all looking with potential and looking for talent. So it doesn't really matter if you can come in leotard and rehearsal tutu or just leotard and a skirt. So absolutely.
Well, in fact, also in Japan, because in Japan, ballet is treated very seriously. And I understand that in Japan, the very first round, the selection round, is everybody
purposely without a costume.
Purposely without a costume, so you can see purely, you can look purely at the talent versus at how pretty the tutu is.
So
right?
Actually, I'm always telling the parents, don't spend the money on the costumes. But I know a lot of girls like to have a pretty costume and put it on and make good pictures.
Well, you were saying that the way you got lured into ballet, somebody promised you a crown.
They promised me tiara and a beautiful costume. They have a 8-year-old girl who they promised tiara and a costume. Of course I say yes, Well, they didn't tell me about blisters and the tears, and the sweat. So they keep this part.
So thousands of dancers who now have benefited from Youth America Grand Prix, actually tens of thousands of dancers, really, if somebody in Russia hadn't promised a little girl in Russia, a tiara, you might not have had YAGP to enjoy today. So see, beauty does count for something, but it's absolutely not necessary. Well, and I think the important part also just at this point to mention is that this session is specifically dedicated to building a professional career in dance. Now, most of the people who participate in Youth America Grand Prix will probably not become the ballet stars of tomorrow. However, what's very, very important, and this is a hugely important point that we, for the past 18 years since the foundation of YAGP, tried to deliver to all of our participants and to the world out there, is that dance is a gift, and it's not just for those who become professional dancers. You become, even if as a result of your journey through YAGP or through several years of dance training, if you become a knowledgeable, appreciative audience member who can truly understand and enjoy ballet, without you, there will be no future for this dance form. So we're as much in the business and in the art of training future audience members and future supporters of dance as we are in the business
and
of
I can tell you,
making stars.
From dancers' point of view, it's such a pleasure to perform for educated audience member who know where to clap and where not, and
who know what they're seeing.
Like makes such a big difference for dancers themselves. Like, so.
One more question came in from Maria. She asks, what are your thoughts on participating in a second company or junior company versus auditioning to go straight into the corps de ballet position?
I think it's a great way where you can blend into the company, because company life is very different from the school life. You know, in school, everybody hold your hand, everybody, try to protect you, try to help you. In a company, the directors expect you be adult and professional, and they just, nobody will hold your hands, nobody will
So basically, like people in professional, what you're saying, I think, is that people in professional companies, the expectations are totally different.
Yes, absolutely.
And so
thank you for translating.
we do that all the time. For each other, we translate each other to the world out there. But it's actually a great point that when you audition for a junior company, it's a great way for you to have the experience of a main company, but with so much more attention than you would normally get otherwise. So it's a fabulous way to continue your journey and your development as a professional dancer. So by all means, don't not audition for a junior company. It's actually a great option.
I think like dancers should expect that's the way company work right now. You practically it's almost impossible to get a contract right away to the company itself. You will always get either studio company or a second company. So you should expect that's the way the company operate right now.
Nikki would like to know the following: body type and figure, your height, your width, whether you have curves, as she puts it. Does that affect a company's willingness to accept you and hire you?
Yes, it does. And it is visual art.
It's a visual art.
So we can talk about anything we want, but it's visual art. Would it affect if somebody has a nice voice to get a job in the opera company or became opera singer, versus somebody who does not have a good voice? So,
and we must specify right here that of course it's a purely subjective judgment, right? So
it is.
So it all depends on the director. It all depends on the specific aesthetic of the company. We famously, Bill T. Jones at one point had a gentleman whose weight was around 300 pounds, and he had the gentleman dance with so much abandon and joy, and that was what he found beautiful. And I would imagine that for that particular spot in the company, if somebody who weighed much less or had a different body, he wouldn't have accepted him. So he accepted. So this is very important to know. Like, just we're talking about short dancers, tall dancers, curvaceous dancers, or very thin dancers. Each company has its own aesthetic. So do your research. You don't now, thanks to the internet, you don't have to attend the company. It costs nothing for you to see the company's performances on YouTube. to research the company.
Look at their resume. Look at the
Look
pictures.
at the dancer's resume. Look at their pictures. Go on YouTube and see what the dancers look like. And if you see dancers who look like you, go on audition. Send them your audition. And know that don't be the one to disqualify yourself because of how you judge yourself. It's a subjective art form, and there's always a place for everyone. You just have to be at the right place at the right time.
But also be realistic. You know, like if you, for example, look and the company is primary has like 5'9", like 6 feet dancers, and you 5 feet, so then maybe that's not the right place for you. So just be also realistic, so it will save you time to audition and to travel to places you might not get in anyway because you're just not the right type.
Now, we have all sorts of questions coming in, and actually one of the questions has to do with Charlene wants to know, do judges always look for flexibility in dancers and give higher score to flexibility? These kinds of questions, we actually are, one of the sessions we're planning will be a little bit of we'll take a couple of our judges and we'll actually have a session on how judges judge, what's important as you prepare for the competition, especially in anticipation for our spring tour. We'll have 25, I believe, cities between January
as
and
of now. We might add
March.
more.
We might add more, so go on the Youth America Grand Prix website, but we'll have a special session dedicated to what the judges are looking for and how is it best to prepare for the specific Youth America Grand Prix experience that you've signed up for. So in the meantime,
but to answering this particular question, so it is visual art, like we talk, and you do have to impress. You know, just think about yourself when you go to performance. What would you like to see? You would like to see something which catch your eye. So, and of course, if you have like some great assets like big jumps or great like flexibility or the tours, it is impressive and it does catch people attention. So, but don't forget, artistic is, I think it's the biggest asset possible ballet dancers can have, because that's what separates us from the athletes. So, but answering your question, yes, it is help.
Well, I think this is a great place for us to bring our evening to a close. Galina is saying hi. Hi, Galina.
Hi, Galina.
Larissa is enjoying the interview, and she asks towards the end of our session if there are any words of encouragement that you would recommend for her dancers, because she says sometimes she's struggling with, she's training her own daughter. And it's hard. And so she's saying, what words of encouragement would you recommend for her and other teachers out there for their students?
I think the whole life, not only the dancers, but human being has to prepare themselves. So they're gonna be achieving little steps and little goals, climb little mountains. Right. And I think they have to give themselves, little steps, move up, like then the next one, and I think it's going to be an amazing tool in their life. We're going to prepare them, climb these mountains, because that's all we do all our life. So in any profession we are, and just like keep saying, like, see, like today is a little bit better than yesterday, and tomorrow is going to be even better, but just explain the dancers the process is very, very slow, and you might not see results tomorrow, you might not see results after tomorrow, you will see it in a couple months, or like maybe even a year. I always like compare it to the braces. Mm-hmm. Like when you put the braces and you tease like a little, look in different directions, so you don't see difference in a month, you don't see difference in 2 months, but you do notice like after a year or after a year and a half, so you take them off and you tease them straight. So it's a very slow process, but it does work. And I think that's what you just keep tell the dancers and say, listen, you're not the first one, you're not the last one, everybody worked as hard as you do, and just keep climbing your little mountains. Keep climbing the mountains. Well, this, we have one more? One. Okay. Well, I was going to say we're almost out of time, but if you can quickly answer the following question. How do I know, Joseph would like to know, how do I know that I'm getting a good training if I'm not in a big or famous school? Well, I
Well, I think it's by the results. I mean, like by the feedback that you get, no?
But again, so that's the whole point. I think what's extremely important for dancers is to go out of the comfort zone and get mixed and blend in with other dancers. You can do this in the competition, you can do this in summer program or any other intensive, and then you will notice yourself, like, well, how come, like, he's also 15 and he does much more advanced stuff than I do. Maybe I have to speed it up my training. So, but the only way you can compare yourself is by go out to the world and blend in with dancers from other ballet schools.
And just compare yourself and
compare
see how you, well, that's actually how originally competition started, because people were training and there was no internet. People couldn't just go online and see what the other students look like.
And I as a ballet teacher will look into place to compare my students, and that's exactly where we get how we start and how we get the idea. So, and I'm glad we still serve this purpose.
Yeah. So the one way to know if you're being trained well, come to Youth America Grand Prix and see how you compare with the students of other schools and see if anybody else inspires you. Well, we must finish for today. This was a very informative session, and we hope so. And by the way, please do let us know. The email for this particular series, Ask the Expert, it's ask@yagp.org. Please do write to us with your questions.
Maybe they have any themes, like
or any topics. If you want to suggest any topics for us to to look into, we will have a topic on how judges judge. We'll have a topic on nutrition. We'll have a topic on dance and higher education. So for all of those topics, please do send in your questions. And also let us know how we're doing. We're just sitting here having tea like Russians do, you know. So
these beautiful teacups.
Yes, beautiful teacups. That's to your health, you know. And, please let us know what we can do better, how we can best give you the answers to the questions you want to have answered. So I'm Sergey Gordeev. This is Larissa Saveliev, the founder of Youth America Grand Prix, and we really enjoyed spending the evening with you. So have a good night.
Good evening.